we're going to explore some core tenets of Stoicism, a philosophy that can profoundly reshape your mindset and approach to life. While not a quick fix, understanding and applying these principles can lead to significant inner transformation. It might sound like ancient wisdom, but I promise you these are real, timeless ideas that, when integrated into your daily thinking, can bring about remarkable change. I've delved into the core concepts, grappled with their application, and witnessed the powerful shift they can bring. I'm eager to share these with you because they have had such a profound impact on countless lives throughout history, and I believe they can do the same for you. Whether you're seeking greater resilience, improved emotional regulation, or a more meaningful existence, these Stoic principles can guide you there. So, settle in and let's delve into some fundamental aspects of Stoicism. Trust me, you'll find enduring value in these ideas, offering practical steps you can start considering today. Plus, we'll touch upon some historical context and enduring relevance, giving you a deeper understanding of how these principles have stood the test of time. So, without further ado, let's begin with a foundational idea, focusing on what you can control. Core. Principle 1, the dichotomy of control. The first key aspect of Stoicism that can change your life is understanding the dichotomy of control. Now, let me be completely honest with you. I used to spend a lot of mental energy worrying about things I had absolutely no power over. External events, other people's opinions, and the past were constant sources of frustration. Mornings were often spent reacting to circumstances, leaving me feeling reactive and disempowered. But discovering the Stoic principle of focusing on what lies within my control was a game changer. I started by consciously differentiating between what I could influence and what I couldn't. The first few times were challenging. Ingrained habits of worry are hard to break. I remember feeling anxious about an upcoming event, my mind racing with what-ifs. But I actively tried to redirect my focus to my own actions and responses. By the third instance of practicing this awareness, something significant began to happen. I began to experience a sense of calm and clarity by consciously releasing the mental burden of things outside my grasp. There was something liberating about focusing my energy solely on my judgments, choices, and actions, the things truly within my sphere of influence. With this newfound focus, I found mental space for things that truly mattered. I started approaching challenges with a sense of agency, concentrating on my response rather than the external trigger. This not only reduced my anxiety, but also empowered me to act more effectively. Another surprising benefit of embracing this principle was a decrease in frustration. I no longer felt as agitated by external inconveniences or the behavior of others. By accepting that these things are often outside my control, I could respond with greater equanimity and less emotional turmoil. One personal experience that stands out was when a planned event was unexpectedly cancelled. Instead of getting upset, I consciously acknowledged that this was beyond my control and shifted my focus to how I could best use my now free time. It was in that moment that I truly understood the power of accepting what I cannot change. Now, shifting your focus to what you can control might not be easy, but I encourage you to try it, even if it's just for a week. Start by identifying one area where you typically feel stressed or frustrated and consciously ask yourself, what aspects of this situation are actually within my control? You might be surprised at how much mental freedom this simple exercise can bring. It's not about ignoring external reality, but about directing your energy towards meaningful action and inner peace. Core Principle 2. Virtue as the sole good. Speaking of inner focus, the Stoic emphasis on virtue as the sole good was another transformative concept. Now, let me be upfront, I wasn't always prioritizing inner character. I used to place a lot of value on external achievements, possessions, and reputation. If only I had X, then I would be happy, was a common refrain, but understanding that true flourishing, eudaimonia, comes from living a virtuous life characterized by wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance fundamentally shifted my perspective. I started small, consciously trying to embody these virtues in my daily interactions and decisions. I wanted to keep it practical, focusing on one virtue at a time so I wouldn't feel overwhelmed and give up. The first few instances of consciously choosing a virtuous response over a reactive one were challenging. My ingrained tendencies towards self-interest or immediate gratification were strong. But I reminded myself why I was doing this, to cultivate inner strength and lasting fulfillment. By the fourth day of this conscious effort, something remarkable happened. I woke up feeling a deeper sense of integrity and purpose. My mood had improved not because of external circumstances, but because I felt I was acting in accordance with my values. I realized that these conscious choices were not just about abstract ideals. They were about giving myself a solid foundation for inner peace and resilience. One morning, I remember facing a difficult ethical dilemma. Instead of immediately choosing the option that offered the most personal gain, I paused and considered what a just and wise course of action would be. As I acted in accordance with those principles, I felt a sense of inner alignment that external rewards could never provide. That sense of connection to my values and the broader good was truly empowering. I also started to see how focusing on virtue freed me from the tyranny of external circumstances. Whether I achieved a particular outcome or not, I could find satisfaction in knowing that I had acted with integrity and to the best of my ability. The biggest change was in my mindset. My sense of worth became less dependent on external validation and more rooted in my character. Virtue became my compass, guiding my actions and providing a stable source of happiness. Another personal highlight was consciously practicing temperance in my desires. I was hesitant at first, thinking it meant deprivation, but after a few instances of choosing moderation over excess, I discovered a greater sense of contentment. Temperance taught me to appreciate what I had and to avoid the endless pursuit of more. It was a transformative experience that went beyond mere self-control, fostering a deeper appreciation for simplicity and balance. Incorporating the focus on virtue into my routine made me realize that cultivating inner character directly impacted my overall well-being and happiness. It's not about being perfect or achieving some unattainable ideal. It's about the continuous practice of striving for wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance in our daily lives. So if you're like I was and struggling with finding lasting fulfillment, my advice is to start small. Identify one virtue you'd like to cultivate and consciously try to embody it in your actions and thoughts throughout the day. Trust me, the inner strength and peace you'll experience will be well worth the effort. It's a principle that has the power to change not just your behavior, but your entire outlook on life. Core Principle 3. The importance of reason and acceptance. The third transformative aspect of Stoicism is the emphasis on reason and acceptance. Now, I used to let my emotions dictate my responses, often leading to unnecessary suffering and poor decisions. I was skeptical of the idea that reason could truly guide my actions, especially in the face of strong emotions. But 1 week of consciously applying reason and practicing acceptance completely shifted my perspective, and it became a cornerstone of my emotional regulation. I started simple. Whenever I felt a strong emotion arise, I dedicated a few moments to examining it rationally. I bought a small notebook to jot down my initial reaction and then tried to analyze the situation objectively. No fancy techniques, no pressure to suppress my feelings, just a conscious effort to understand their source and validity. The first few times my emotions felt overwhelming, making rational thought difficult. But then I began to ask myself basic questions. What is the underlying belief driving this emotion? Is this belief based on fact or assumption? What is the worst that could realistically happen? As the days went by, I started to notice patterns in my emotional responses. I realized that many of my negative emotions stemmed from unrealistic expectations or resistance to reality. One evening, I remember feeling intense frustration over a delayed project. By putting my thoughts on paper, I was able to see that while the delay was inconvenient, it wasn't a personal attack or a catastrophe. This simple act of rational examination helped me to accept the situation and focus on what I could do next. Another powerful aspect of this practice was learning to accept what I could not change. I noted down instances where I was clinging to a desired outcome or resisting an inevitable reality. Looking back at these entries, I saw how much unnecessary suffering I had caused myself through this resistance. For instance, I wrote about my disappointment when a certain opportunity didn't materialize. Seeing my resistance to this outcome documented in my journal helped me to gradually accept it and move forward with a more realistic perspective. I also started to consciously practice acceptance of the present moment. Every day, I took a few moments to simply observe my surroundings without judgment, acknowledging things as they were. This practice shifted my focus from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future to appreciating the present. One particularly memorable instance was during a period of discomfort. Instead of immediately wishing for it to end, I consciously tried to accept the sensation without resistance. This simple shift in perspective made the discomfort more bearable and less mentally consuming. Through the application of reason and the practice of acceptance, I discovered a greater sense of inner peace and resilience. It became a way to navigate the inevitable challenges of life with more equanimity and less suffering. It provided a framework for understanding my emotions and responding to them in a more constructive way. If you've never consciously tried to apply reason to your emotions or practice acceptance, I highly encourage you to start. Don't worry about becoming perfectly rational or emotionless. Just make a conscious effort to observe your thoughts and feelings and to accept the reality of the present moment. You might be surprised at how much clarity and peace it brings into your life. Remember, it's not about suppressing your emotions, but about understanding them and responding with wisdom. All right, everyone, that brings us to an overview of some fundamental principles of Stoicism that can dramatically reshape your mindset and approach to life. It's been an insightful exploration, not just in understanding these ancient ideas, but also in recognizing their enduring power. Each of these Stoic tenets has the potential to create significant positive changes in your inner life, and I truly believe that if they have guided countless individuals throughout history, they can offer valuable guidance for anyone today. If you've been intrigued by any of these principles, I encourage you to explore them further in your own life. Start small, perhaps by focusing on one concept at a time and observing its impact. Adjust your understanding and application according to your own experiences and insights. Remember, the goal isn't instant transformation, but gradual progress. It's about making small, consistent efforts to cultivate a more resilient, rational, and virtuous mindset over time. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so please feel free to share any reflections or questions you might have. Your insights and journeys contribute to a richer understanding for all of us. And if you found this overview helpful, consider sharing it with others who might benefit from exploring Stoicism. Thank you so much for engaging with these ideas, and remember, inner transformation begins with understanding and consistent effort. Let's continue to learn, to grow, and to cultivate a more flourishing inner life. See you in our next exploration. Stay thoughtful, everyone.